Hey, TJ Hondo, welcome. Uh, well, Lardarku, I have a few thoughts on what sort of things can go wrong tonight, but we'll talk about those in a second. I expect tonight we'll have many clip-worthy moments on both sides of the table. Yes, Basic Planes, that is indeed accurate. Fuck searching doth deck. We got the Arbiters, we got the Mind Sensors, we got the Paths. Even a few Ghost Quarters, too. Fuck it, get in here. All right, good evening, everyone. My name's Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site dedicated to legacy death and taxes, and that is what we are going to be playing today, though this isn't necessarily a traditional build. So a little while back, Felchmaster donated a bunch to the stream, and he requested a couple of specific deck lists, but afterwards he said he wanted D&T with maximum bully hat. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to put on various different bully hats, and we're going to try to bully people in different ways. Tonight we're going to take Kyle Dauch, D-A-U-C-H. We're going to take Kyle's deck list from the last Legacy deck list, Legacy Classic, and run it through a league. Now, this deck is special, and it's special in a number of different ways. So first, the traditional creature suite is gone. We don't have the Stoneforge Mystics and the Batterskull and the Sword of Fire and Ice that are like always a staple portion of the deck. Instead, we have 4 Leonin Arbiters and 4 Aven Mind Sensors. So this is going to allow us to really put pressure on my opponent's mana, and that is what this is doing. So between Arbiter and Mind Sensor stopping fetch lands, Thalia's Taxation, Vryn Wingmare's Taxation, and Thalia Heretics Cathar's Taxation. There is a ton of disruption in this deck list. So I'm going to finish my deck tech, and then I'll answer those questions in chat. So to supplement this, there are 2 Ghost Quarters in addition to the normal Rishadan Ports and Wasteland. So this deck is really all in on mana disruption, really at the cost of some of the late game. So notice there aren't Recruiters here. There aren't Stoneforges here. There's not like Palace Jailer here. There's even only 2 Flicker Wisps here. There's very little late game to this deck. This is much closer to sort of a prison deck in many ways than a control deck. You're kind of hoping to initially get your opponents in the vice grips before they execute their game plan. If they do their game plan, it's much harder for you to do anything about it. Supplementing the traditional mana base, we also have 4 copies of Horizon Canopy to help us draw some cards, to kind of make up for the fact that we're not a very good endgame deck. So just to throw this out there now, I do not think that this deck is good. I don't think this deck is anywhere close to good. I think it is too greedy. I don't think there are enough white sources in the deck. I expect I'm going to mulligan a ton of hands without white sources. I think throwing away Death and Taxes endgame is a terrible idea because it's one of the best portions of the deck. Like, so many games are won on the back of, like, Recruiter into Stoneforge or Recruiter into Flickerwisp, Flickerwisp Recruiter, that sort of stuff. And I don't necessarily think that this plan of going all in on mana denial is going to work, mostly because this is significantly better on the play than on the draw, and because when your opponent actually executes their game plan, there's very little you can do about that. In comparison to normal D&T, there are 2 Path to Exiles here as additional main deck removal, again, sort of making up for the fact that you can't, like, beat as well. The sideboard has a number of assorted low-intensity sideboard cards. So a lot of the cards that are normally in the main deck of D&T got shoved into the sideboard here, in the Revokers and the Flickerwisps, as well as Sanctum Prelate, although the second one, normally wouldn't be in the main deck. And then because this deck is so light on white, it can't really afford to play too many white cards. So there's no, like, Gideons or Cataclysms here. There's a random Unexpectedly Absent, which is another interesting choice. Spirit of the Labyrinth I like in this shell to, again, supplement this prison plan and give you something else good to bring in versus the combo decks where the Paths and Swords are going to be bad. And Containment Priest and Rest in Peace are the graveyard hate cards of choice. So Yosoi Easy, I have copied this deck list, verbatim, card for card, from the Legacy Classic. I want to say it was like 14th place deck list. I think this deck's terrible. I would not run a deck like this, but we are trying it out for the sake of the stream. Largely because there were some people in the Facebook group who were like, Phil, don't knock this until you've tried it. This is some innovative deck building. And I say, mathematically speaking, we don't have anywhere close to enough white producing lands, especially when you start to, like, go and consider things like Back to Basics, Wasteland, and things of that nature that are going to, like, make your own lands worse. So it's gonna be rough. Yeah, Overvoltage, I crapped on this deck list a lot. I don't know how much of it I actually posted publicly, but I said some very unkind words about this deck list. So, of course, now that I say all of that, and now that, like, I come out saying, like, I think this deck list is actually absolute, like, garbage, we'll probably trophy with it, and that's my life. And to answer the previous question, Overvoltage, I am at 6 trophies right now. I've been slacking. I haven't been playing a lot except when I've been on stream. And I've been trying a lot of interesting things recently, like this deck list. Alright. No search taxes. Let's do it. Oh, trophies with this deck? Well, I haven't played a single match with this deck. So, I guess our answer there is 0. Oh yeah, we're playing Terrible Planes. That's happening. Someday, I will actually sell all of my Terrible Planes, and then this won't happen anymore. Why does it default to that? Why? Yeah, I don't know if this deck is worth a good planes anyway. Don't want to sully them. Oh, and someone else asked, Basic Planes. Yes, I am going to Baltimore this weekend. I don't know how many of us are going. A couple of people are in a situation where they have to wait until tomorrow to see if they can go due to like end of their quarter work stuff. But I'm either going with Harley Cox and Sean French or just Harley Cox. Yeah, Mike. Good Plains is the Storm Plains, the Lightning Plains from Odyssey. Yes, and thank you, Felchmaster. This is one of your maximum bully hat streams, so to speak. Hopefully, we have some nice clip-worthy moments for you from tonight. So, his hand looks terrible, but it has a white source, right? So I should probably keep it. I'm not even kidding. So if I draw any land within my first 2 draw steps, this actually isn't all that bad. This Ghost Quarter is going to be sweet. Do I just Ghost Quarter right now? Probably. I should probably assume that this is like Eldrazi Tron. Or not Eldrazi Tron, Eldrazi Post. Ha-ha! Got him. Yeah, we modern now, boys. Chalice on 1. I do not care. Alright. I don't know how much this is actually going to hinder my opponent, but I'm going to play it out. Yes, Ghost Quarter confirmed broken in Legacy. Way better than in Modern. Alright, what am I doing with my life? Yeah, if I didn't play a port, that would have been a great move. So I think my plan this game is prevent my opponent from casting big, stupid Eye of Ugins and Friends. You can Thought Not Sear me, opponent. All of my cards are bad, so it doesn't actually matter. Well, King, I feel like I'm playing Modern against Legacy. So not well, I guess is the answer. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have like all the lands and spells I could want this game and still just like die to a fucking 3/2 and a 4/4. Well, there's. This is how we win. This is how we win. Right here. So my opponent tapped Eldrazi Temples for 4 mana, and then cast a Walking Ballista on 0, which was countered by Chalice of the Void. Three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I can have 11 damage next turn, which is not lethal. Well, we got another Canopy. Isn't that grand? Yeah, I guess I'll play this so that my opponent can't just freely attack with the Matter Reshaper. Oh, great, a Walking Ballista. So I can either draw a card with Resin Canopy and play a cat, or I can just hold up Aven Mind Sensor. I think I want to hold up Aven Mind Sensor. Farish, assume this is a first draft. So the sub badges go, I think, black shield, pink shield, silver shield, gold shield. So they level up as you're subscribed for time. I don't know, Mike. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Oh, there's a Wingmare too. Well, then playing this is not relevant. So I can Swords this and put my opponent to 12. Then attack them for 8, put them to 4. My Swords that I can't port, and I think I just want to port. These Horizon Canopies seem really sweet in a deck with lots of mana sinks like Schadenport. Wait. Wait a sec. No, they don't. Alright, I don't even know how to sideboard. So these are cards I'd consider. So it seems like most of my cards are just bad here. Or in general. Maybe both. Yeah, Thalia Heretic Cathar is sweet. But all this like Bryn Wingmare, Thalia, Leonin Arbiter stuff is pretty medium. Ugh. Sure. It stops the Iovugan. But if I haven't, like, Ghost Quartered Wasteland ported them into Oblivion by then, I'm probably already losing, right? Like, this card is just going to be terrible in the early game, and of low to moderate value endgame. Like, I'd rather have an Aven Mind Sensor, because it can, like, fly and attack over other things. Yeah, Mike, he could sideboard into Wastes and just totally get me. Alright. So, we have white mana, so I'm going to keep my hand. I don't think this hand's good. But I don't think it's bad enough to go back at the same time. Like, I have different removal spells that interact with their cards. And some threats. Ratchet Bomb, that's fine. So I think Thalia Heretic Cathar is the big prize here. Seems like my opponent should have ticked up their Ratchet Bomb right there in response, in case they have like a Dismember or something. Oh yes, this is exactly the sort of jank you would expect. Chalice on 2, okay. You do that. Sadly, this Legacy All-Star Seal of Cleansing is not going to beat the Chalice on 2. Fuck! That's not fair. That's not fair at all. Alright, how boned am I? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for Eldrazi. Feel like we're pretty boned. My Caracas is getting Wasteland if my opponent can't do anything sweet with it. Can't cast these cards. Can cast this, and if my opponent has something like an All Is Dust or an Ugin, no biggie. I'm going to go ahead and cast this. I don't think I'm going to beat my opponent if they have reasonable Magic cards to cast. So I think I need to hope to aggro them out over the next 2-ish turns. And just hope they don't have a Giant Ballista or a Planeswalker or something like that. That is indeed the Giant Ballista that I was afraid of. If I Flicker Wisp this, it gives my opponent a 3 for 1. If I Swords to Plowshares it, it gives them a 3 for 1. I think I need to Swords to Plowshares it, because I think I'm going to need my Flicker Wisp to flicker this Chalice so I can play my Seal of Cleansing to stop this Ratchet Bomb that's going to get to start ticking up. Oh man, my opponent is a strong player. Is it not just going to matter and there's just going to be another Ballista? Yeah, that's pretty bad. Well, I can cast none of the cards in my hand. Sorry, I can cast these. Not effectively. Yes, this deck is confirmed fire, but it's confirmed dumpster fire. Alright. Best hand we've seen so far. It's got a Vial. Yeah, that was a good one. That was strong. Ha! My opponent had a sideboard basic waste that they drew. Get wrecked. Yes, opponent is very kind, not doing anything, letting our Vial obliterate them, giving me a win. Why would you ever cut Flicker Wisp from this deck? Look at this. This is so good. Yes, the cards that are good in D&T are indeed doing work here. Yeah, we forced them from copying their own cloud post. Or, sorry, we forced them off of copying their own cloud post. All right, there we go. We did it, chat. We're winning with a cat. Leon and Arbiter for president. So if at any point you have any questions about this deck list, feel free to throw them in chat, and I'll do my best to field them. And if you have any questions about what cards are actually in the deck, check out the Cardboard Live extension. It should be on the left-hand side of your screen. It looks like a card with a little microphone below it. They're one of my sponsors, and I love, love, love Cardboard Live. I think they're going to be sort of the future of Magic coverage, and I'm really hoping that some big tournament series like Star City or something like that picks them up so that we can see all the like metagame stuff that the program can do in action. There are no Looter Scooters. I'm going to keep this one. If my opponent is like some Delver deck, like double sword plus Ghost Quarter plus this bullshit is probably going to be pretty good. Is that what Leon and Arbiter is? Cat Jesus? Alright, force, pitch a force. Mom is dead. So we're playing against Grixis Control, and we have a worse endgame than normal D&T. So this seems like it's going to be a shit show. Yeah, once we get through the first 4 basics, these Ghost Quarters are going to be great. Yeah, like with Grixis Control and Miracles being popular control decks of the moment, I can't really see wanting to play a D&T deck with like a decisively worse endgame. Like normally D&T can't compete with this deck, and I've taken like most of my card advantage out. So life seems rough. So I'm just gonna hope to like draw a land, play Jitte, equip, and nothing bad happens to either the Jitte or the Flicker Wisp. Well, plan ruined. Something happened. The good news is, if I draw another land, I can just go, like, land into Thalia, protect Thalia. That's not the worst. Bad news is, if I don't draw a land, and I don't draw a creature, and I draw something like an Ether Vial or a Swords, I'm just, like, more or less obligated to play this Thalia to not give my opponent more time to set up. OP had a card, we lost. We tried. Oh, great. It seems like Jace mana. I'm not going to show this mom here. I'm just going to play Thalia again. I don't know that I want to like actually play this mom, because my opponent has a removal spell, and it's very likely they do. Then I lose the mom, Thalia gets bounced, or like even worse, my opponent might just like brainstorm, find double removal spell, and I'm shit out of luck. It feels like I'm about to get fucked. Let's watch it happen. No, Army of Thalia, I'm not trying to change your mind. I, too, think this deck is trash. Alright. Diabolic Edict. So I can just bounce Thalia here. Do we see another removal spell to get the Thalia? We do! K-Command! Destroy target fill. Yeah, so Army of Thalia, I'm actually kind of like playing this deck to prove that it is bad. I think it is absolutely unplayable. But there are those who believe that this strategy is viable. So I need to show them how bad it is. Yeah, getting them to 2 for 2 is a minor victory, I guess. Oh, there goes my cards. They weren't very good anyway, but I wanted them. Alright, as far as draws go, Thalia's pretty good. It's a threat that I can protect. Now, Loam's sweet. I like Loam a lot. I mean, surely you can't be surprised that I like Life from the Loam, right? It is a card that lets you play more Wastelands, and I really like Wasteland. You're just gonna him me now? Take this out of my hand? Mike, it is $12. Alright, Force Pitch Ponder. I think I hold this second Thalia. I don't really think that I get anywhere by just playing it out, because my opponent gets draw step plus 3 cards with Jace to find any removal spell if I just play it out. Sorry, Mike, I just looked at your picture. What the hell is this? What is that much mana? You're just, like, playing a zombie fish? Alright. Alright. So... let's make a pile of maybes. This is the pile of maybes. Let's take out the cards that are bad. I don't want those. And I don't want these. God, these Council's Judgments and Unexpectedly Absence are going to be so hard to cast with, like, Thalias and Wingmares. That's rough. Alright. I need to think about my role in this matchup. So I think essentially my plan in this matchup with this version of the deck is try to gimp them early, like try to get free ones with like Arbiter, Thalia, Mind Sensor, other Thalia, Wingmare. So I should not plan on winning a long game. Alright. Let's not plan on winning a long game. So let's not play Rest in Peace. And I don't really know that I can bring in Unexpectedly Absent. Like, it just seems like it costs so much mana to just put a Planeswalker on top of the library. I guess in an ideal world, like, my opponent fetches and then I tuck their Jace. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sanctum Prelate isn't awesome. It's fine, I guess. It's possible this is supposed to come in. Alright, so this is really going to need another land to fire on all cylinders. Lord Darkview, I don't think I can win a long game. And I think Rip is a card that is better as the game goes long, so I think I need to just ignore that. Strong. Strong. So I'm not going to show this Ghost Quarter. For the off chance that my opponent actually lets this cat get around the table. So Farish, generally speaking, in an open metagame for a large event, I don't really like Thalia Heretic Cathar. Fucking took my Ghost Quarter. Fuck you. I wanted to do one thing. Just one thing. No respect. No respect. Sorry, Farish, to finish that thought. In a large open meta, I don't see Thalia Heretic Cathar doing well. But if your metagame is, like, locally is small and full of decks that, like, Thalia Heretic Cathar is going to be good against, oh, man. Are we just going to, like, Mize a free win here? Because it sure seems like it. Then it can be quite powerful. Note, I'm super mega boned if my opponent just draws non-fetch lands. Land, that's fine. That's acceptable. Alright, please don't draw a real land, opponent. Let me draw another land so I can mind censor you after you've paid for Arbiter. So Farish, mid-range, non-basic land decks is the short answer. So things like Maverick, Eldrazi, stuff of that ilk, it's going to be very good against. It's also very good against elves. Is this good enough? I guess this is fine. Like, I've got a Wasteland. And I guess, like, I have 2-drop into 3-drop. Can't cast this, can't cast this. I don't expect to be able to cast them anytime soon. We're getting them. We'll take that land. Oh, look, another white source. Just what the doctor ordered. My opponent shuffled with the ponder. So that's nice. Opponent didn't even take my second Caracas. What a scumbag. Opponent confirmed bully. Ah, opponent found another land. This is indeed good shit. Alright, please don't have a push. No, I'm not going to go score to them right here because if they have a push, I get super fucked. I'm not sure if my opponent is thinking or if they've just left. This deck is obviously bad. It has huge fundamental deck building problems. Oh, that's a sad Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster targeting a Ponder that is uncastable due to this boy. Please don't have land and deluge. Yeah, I was expecting upkeep K command. Alright, that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. Alright, so I port my opponent on their turn. That's 2 of my mana, so I have 2 other mana to go around. That can pump Brightling once and give Brightling lifelink. Otherwise, I can go up to 5, 6, 7, 8, not quite kill my opponent. Yeah. I could also just, like, draw a card with this Horizon Canopy and see if that changes what I want to do at all. It probably doesn't. I should probably just leave up open double bounce. My life total doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about my opponent's blockers at this time. So I can't play any 2 of these, unfortunately. I can take my opponent off of red by ghost quartering their Badlands, but they'll just get a different basic, so that doesn't accomplish a ton. Kind of want to draw into a Wasteland. Opponent probably has some Fatal Push type cards that they haven't gotten a chance to cast. I can Wingmare plus Port, which I think is what I like the best. It's the thing that is most likely to tie up the largest amounts of my opponent's mana on the next turn cycle. Because if my opponent has a 1-mana removal spell, which it's very, very likely they do, then it costs them 2 mana to deal with this. I don't like playing Thalia until I can protect it, and I wouldn't want to protect it this turn. Yeah, super happy to see an Edict go here. Rough. So, since we kind of have, like, no endgame inevitability with this deck, like, I wastelanded 3 different times, and I just really could not capitalize on that. Yeah, I should presume that they have 1 to 2 basic lands left remaining in their deck. Yep. Not much I can do about that. So I don't really like the way that they use that Snapcaster Mage. Like, I understand it, but they left value on the table. Inquisition, value for me. Alright, so they put it on top. So I'm going to shuffle. God, that is such a tilting draw. Because, like, I had Aven Mind Sensor just, like, whack in for lethal. But that's not a thing anymore. Alright, my opponent has a Snapcaster. I think I have to make my stand right now before that Snapcaster is up. So I think I play this and draw towards exactly Flicker Wisp this turn. That is not exactly Flicker Wisp. I expect to be dead now. The removal spells are all in the sideboard currently. See, like this is my problem with this version of the deck, right? Like, you're kind of all in on the early game. You try to, like, get free wins by locking your opponent out of the early game, but you just have no fight in the late game. Like, I know I got himmed twice this game, so that contributes, like, partially to why I'm so far behind on cards. But I have, like, do I have literally no sources of card advantage in the deck? Like, true card advantage? I think the answer is no. Yeah, I think I'm done here. Oh, you're hanging out in Arkan's stream? They're real big on the Jedi Sith stuff over there. Yeah, so I have actual zero sources of card advantage in the deck. So there's no Jailer, no Stoneforge, no Recruiter. Bad MTG bot. I'm 1-1, Mike. Am I supposed to, like, keep this hand? It has removal spells, it has a bird, it has mana. So again, hoping my opponent's on a Delver deck, like, I guess I keep this. Fuck, we're just gonna play against Miracles here. And then just lose because we have no late game. Oh, thank God, not Miracles. Delver! Yay! So I'm just gonna snap this off on the Underground Sea, since I can double removal spell this Delver in following turns. And I'm going to try to get a free win, because I think that's the mindset you need to be in playing this version of the deck. And the Delver doesn't flip. Good news for Phil fans. That's not a real mana source for you. That's a fake mana source. All right, let's not go so far as to say I'm happy here, right? Like, I'm certainly entertained. Ha ha, sucker. I'll play out this like mom before anything else, and just for my mana efficiency, I'm going to play out a second mom here, even though it exposes my Caracas to Wasteland. Since I have 3 Caracas in my deck, I'd rather get those wastelanded than any other card. I would love to draw a Wasteland or Ghost Quarter to nug this Underground Sea. Just Moto things. Yeah, agreed. Mind Sensor, not great. Sorry, something was going on in the background here that you all can't hear. I was rather distracted. King, I have a donation queue going. So I'm doing them more or less in order of how things are happening, although not exactly. So like there was one Felchmaster made like a lot of donations, so his ones are not going in order. They're just going as I have time, but everyone else's is kind of going in order. It'd probably be a week or so. Like, not this next week for sure. Because I've got a D&T donation deck list I want to do, and then a stacks deck that I want to do next week. So King, if you make a donation, I will coordinate with you to make sure it is a time you can catch it live. Yeah, if you can't find a Stoneblade list and you just need me to find one, that's fine. think I want to do that while they only have one card in hand, so only a Spell Pierce can get me. It gives them more information about what they want with the Brainstorm, but it makes it less likely that I get got by some combination of counterspells. King, you can do that either way. You can either just send it with the PayPal, or you can just send me an email right after you make the donation. This seems bad. I'm in the Abyss mode. I basically need to draw Swords to Plowshares or Path to Exile. Emin Gamer, it seems like if there's a bunch of Grixis control running around, it's not a good time to play Infect. That's the impression that I have. Alright, so I'm playing against Death Shadow. God, I don't even know if I have, like, sideboard cards for this matchup. Ugh. Yeah, this is pretty awful. Like, these are cards to consider. I guess I can consider Revoker for Lily Last Hope. They have so many cards that ugh. Yeah, this is not good. So, like, normally you approach this with, like, a strategy to minimize damage from Dread of Night, but I can't, like, do that super well. Yeah, and I probably need to, like, not play those either because, like, my Paths and Swords are so important since I have no value otherwise. Like, Jitte isn't good in this matchup. I guess I can cut that. Yeah, so these hedge against Dread of Night and additional creatures. Alright. I'll be right back. I'm going to try to deal with some of the noise in the background. Hey, you had a chance to use your chair command. Chair command does not do well against K command. Yeah, my roommate and one of his friends is watching a relatively vulgar TV show, And all last match, I was just hearing like ridiculous things that you couldn't quite pick up but were very clear on my end. So I was very distracted for the last match. No, no one you would know. Not a Magic player. Oh man, Myth still. That's fun. I've played that deck before. All right, hoping to rip some lands here. Shit. Really hoping to rip a land. Like a master. Actually, I guess I can do this draw step without being punished. So, for anyone unfamiliar with Myth still, it is Myth realized standstill. Alright, opponent does not have a basic. If I wait, it gives them the chance to draw their one basic if they are playing one basic. The mind sensor that follows this is going to be disgusting. If my opponent draws a fetch, they just put it into play tapped. And that's going to be no good. Oh. Neat. Alright, so even though it enters tapped, they went and paid 2 life to shock themselves with the Death Shadow. This is mana inefficient, but I'm going to do it. Otherwise, the Death Shadow gets big, and then when I use the Swords to Plowshares on it, it's setting me back much more. Dismember? Oh god. I'm gonna get him with this bird. So my opponent is facing lethal unless they answer the Thalia in some way. And in order to do that, they probably have to fetch, and then I Mind Sensor them. God, I have so many 3-drops. So many. Unexpectedly Absent is indeed a weird card. If my opponent kept 7, I might have mulliganed this one, because it doesn't have any removal. But with my opponent taking a mulligan, this is probably fine. Oh god. We're just getting a freebie. Opponent kept a 6-card no-lander with the Street Wraith to try to cycle into a land. That might mean they have something ridiculously stupid like Dread of Night. %, just taking this attack here. My opponent doesn't have any land. It's just probably very free to do so. My opponent would have to draw, like, non-fetch land as their draw for turn. Yep, opponent does not get to play Magic. They get to cycle another Street Wraith, though, so they've got that going for them. Yep, there's the risky Dread of Night keep on a no-lander. Ooh, you are donation number 3 for that. Yes. Let me update that. So again, King, thank you very much for that donation. I will be in email contact with you about when we'll get that stream taken care of. It'll probably be, well, I'll email you. We'll figure it out. So I have an idea of who I want this mystery guest to be and what I want to play, but I actually haven't had a chance to talk to this person yet to confirm that it's going to happen. So I will announce the mystery guest as soon as I confirm with them that they can do it. I also might wait a little while on that because the donation queue is ticking up very well. Like I'm super happy about it. It's been a very very fulfilling week or so here. So like just to flash it real quick. So so one of these D&Ts is being taken care of right now, and then we'll have Myth still added to this plus my my special guest league. Oh, Julian, that actually sounds fun. I would 100% love to do an Elf stream with you. Maybe we can do it on a weekend so it is a little more time friendly for you. I love shooting the bull with Julian. Like when we're doing commentary together on the Legacy Premier League, I just love it to death. It's so much fun. Shameless plug on that note, for anyone not watching the Legacy Premier Leagues, you really need to be. It's happening every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Julian's channel. It's Julian. And we're getting to the tail end of our tournament now, so the matches are absolutely insane. So we have 3 weeks remaining. So we have sort of like our losers semifinals, our losers finals, and then our grand finals remaining. And players are stacked. Is it just 2 weeks? I thought it was 3. Yes, King, I got knocked out. Do we just have losers finals and grand finals left? Okay, sorry. 2 weeks left. Regardless, the matches are nuts. Yeah, I'll keep this. Chancellor of the Annex. That is unfortunate. My hand looks way worse now. So, like, more generally, I think the commentary for the Legacy Premier League has, that's unfortunate, has been maybe equal to the play. Not necessarily like every single time or anything, but generally speaking, the commentary has been very, very good. Even some of the quote-unquote random people that we've gotten to help us out have done incredibly. Like Edgar, for example, this week was sort of a last-minute substitution, and he did absolutely incredibly, and I loved what he was doing. All right, let's go for the free one. All right, so there goes my vial. Oh, no, there goes the wingmare. So if my opponent just, like, reanimates a Chancellor, I get to path to exile it? Ah, Dark Ritual, Faithless Looting. Let's see if we get there. I can respect that. So I'm gonna play this Wingmare here rather than waste, because if my opponent like top decks a Reanimation spell and puts the Grizzlebrand into play, I'd like to limit the power of that Grizzlebrand. Like, my opponent can draw a bunch of cards, but this isn't even good. Well, that's insane. So this is cool. If my opponent draws 7, I animate my factory and they die. Got there. Alright, so Priest and Rest in Peace are good. These are fine. These are fine. These fall into the pile of maybe I can consider them. So with normal D&T, you end up like sideboarding out most or all of your Stoneforge package. And you just like bring in as many cards that can help to hate on the unfair crap as you can. So like Jetes don't really do much. Brightlings, Flicker Wisps don't really do much. All the rest of the stuff contributes to some sort of mana denial plan, or like otherwise some degree of hate. Check the Cardboard Live extension if you want to take a look at the deck list pre me adding cards. It's a little weird. Alright, I think if I'm playing Thalias and Wingmares, this Council's Judgment might just be too slow. Yeah, Arbiter versus Entomb seems decent. Yeah, okay. I could see Thalia Heretic Cathar being too slow. Like, I'm still too many at too many cards. So maybe I'm supposed to like not play some of these 3-drops or something. Or maybe like Seal's too narrow, Unexpectedly Absent is a little bit expensive. Or maybe I'm supposed to just like ignore the mom portion of the plan and just accept that I won't be able to wall a Grizzlebrand. And then instead, like, play one of these. And maybe we'll keep one mom in. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with this deck sometimes. So I guess I keep this. I don't have any fast graveyard hate to mulligan to, but my opponent doesn't necessarily know that. Alright, who is this unmasked targeting? Targeting me. Okay. Well, there goes this, which was my one answer to a non-Grizzlebrand creature. So if you make it to the mid-game, Sanctum Prelate is really good because it stops the, like, all the 2-drop reanimation spells. Alright, so we'll see how Ham Grizzlebrand goes. So of note, I probably made a mistake by playing the Plains rather than the Caracas, because my opponent saw the Caracas, so like me leaving it at hand, like sandbagging it, doesn't do a ton, unless my opponent like Ashen Riders it. I don't think it's likely to make that much of a difference this game. We're probably pretty dead, but a mistake is a mistake. All right, what have been pitched to these? Reanimate and Grizzlebrand. I didn't expect to win the game on the draw, basically under any circumstances. The way this deck is built, it's just significantly better on the play. Yeah, I love Cardboard Live. Like I'm so happy to be sponsored by them. I love using it as a viewer or a commentator. It's made my job so much easier. Like I love that extension. Wilson Hunter is doing great work on that, as well as the people working with him. Well, my cards aren't doing a lot right now, chat. Yeah, the Seal of Cleansing, I believe, is still on the sideboard anyway. So, like, with this deck, I don't think you can really afford to board these cards like Seal of Cleansing, because like you need to be proactive in establishing a lock, because that's the style of this deck. And I don't think that like Seal of Cleansing for Animate Dead or the Pithing Needle is where you want to be. You want to just like shut your opponent out before they do anything. Hey Arkin, how did your stream go? You bully a bunch of Siths today? Yes, we are playing quite the brew. Well, this hand seems acceptable. In before my opponent just chancellors me. Nope, okay. Note, I'm not going to show them the Crocus immediately. 29-3. That is insane. Well done, Arkin. Alright, Cabal Therapy target themselves. My opponent has drawn 14. We'll see if they can put that Ashen Rider into play. Unmask, target me. Well, my hand's great, and you can't take this Caracas, so that's the good news for Team Phil. The bad news for Team Phil is that if my opponent takes my Swords to Plowshares here, and they have a Lotus Petal for Pithing Needle on Caracas, I'm probably donezo. Took the Rest in Peace. This is bad. Yup. So, of note, our hand was pretty nuts unless my opponent had just absolutely everything on turn 1. So I get a Thalia back. My opponent can either get an Alesh Norn or an Ashen Rider. I have no choice in this matter. Alright, how do I win? Well, these cards don't do it. I guess if I get a Path, that's a start. So I should draw towards that. I have a great play. Got him. Yeah, it's fine. Like, my opponent drew very well there. Three, two dream. I thought caching with this deck list would be ambitious. Like, when I decided to play this, I accepted that I was probably throwing 12 tickets down the drain. But, you know, pretty much regardless of what version of D&T I was playing there, my opponent would have liked turn 1 to be there. You know, unless I had something like a surgical extraction, it wasn't going to be good enough for that. Please don't be Grixis control again. Please just be Delver. Unsure if Grixis control or Delver at the moment. Will update in a turn. Yeah, sure. It could be Ant as well. There are other possibilities, but Grixis Delver, or sorry, Shadow and Grixis control are more popular than Ant right now. Well, we're in Blowout City. So my opponent has shuffled. We'll put in some Magic the Gathering cards. Does my opponent risk it and fetch right now? They do. They did not find. Is that the first time that I actually stopped an effect with a Mind Sensor or an Arbiter tonight? I think it is. I almost want to Horizon Canopy and try to draw into, like, a Thalia of some nature or something rather than port. But I think I'll just port. If I draw a card, it telegraphs the weakness of my hand, which I don't want to do. So I guess my opponent is Grixis control. They could be Grixis Delver. It's hard to tell. I think I'm going to board for control. So I think last time when we did this, I decided that I wanted to try to win the early game and not play as much towards the late game. So I think I went negative these, negative these. I kept most of the other stuff in, and we're just going to try to lock them. So I want Prelate, I want Spirit. I guess Revokers for the walkers still matters quite a bit. I guess I'll still Council's Judgment for a walker. And I think I decided against Rest in Peace before. Ugh. Rest in Peace is so awkward. These Revokers are significantly less good when I can't tutor for them. Well, this hand's actually really good. Again, the difference between play-draw with this deck is really stupid, though. So I think I want to play Thalia this turn, so that if my opponent has a 1-mana removal spell, they have to use their mana on their turn to answer this. And then hopefully I can get a blowout with Arbiter on the next turn off of Vial. God. The potential for the blowout is real. Come on. Don't fetch with that other one. Just leave it there. It'll be fine. Aww. That's no fun. And Thoughtseize, so all my tricks are telegraphed. That's super unfortunate. Alright, Thalia Heretic Athar was the take. That draw is Garbo. Alright, so let's nug that. Let's put a cat into play. And we're not going to bluff the second 2-drop here by holding, like, by just hard casting it, because it goes wrong if my opponent has force. I don't think they have force in post-sideboard games, but I've been wrong before. Alright, rip our offense. So I just, like, suck against Baleful Strix, right? Yes. So I have Thalias and Thalias that can deal with it favorably in combat, otherwise I just, like, lose to it. So keeping that in mind, I just need to trade for it at some point, so I might as well do it sooner rather than later. What a game this would have been if I was on the play. Please don't, like, Lily Last Hope me. Fuck. And not fetch land. Double rough. My best plan against Baleful Strix is attack into it, chat. This is bad. I'm basically just going to concede to a Planeswalker here. We play on for a little bit longer. That's really good to know about. I'm not beating that. Now that I know about those Grim Lavamancers, I probably need to consider these Rest in Pieces a little bit more seriously. Maybe my Flicker Wisps aren't doing a ton in this deck. Like, I don't really have any value blink targets on my side. Gosh, that feels wrong. But if the strategy is try to get the free ones, it makes sense. Forgive me, Flicker Wisp. So here it is. Here's what I was sort of fearful of the entire time. Those openers that are amazing but don't have colored lands. And this would have been a colored land in literally any other variation of the deck. That being said, I'm going to keep this. I think I have a relatively high possibility of getting a free win with Wasteland into Ghost Quarter off the Arbiter. If I get Thoughtseized and this Arbiter dies, my hand is absolutely garbage. And we're going to have to hope that this Wasteland on the sea is good enough. So if my opponent has Lightning Bolt, they know to hold it up for this Mom that's coming in. Yep. Alright, come on. Relevant card. Relevant card. Not exactly. I'm not out of this one yet. Like, Brightling and Vial is very good. Backed with Sanctum Prelate, it's even better. No shuffle there. So let's continue with our strategy of trying to mise this. I'm going to put this in and name 1, and then try to port my opponent off of their 3s. We're going to attack the black mana to try to protect the Brightling that's in my hand. How do I ever beat this card as this deck? Serious question. I think I'm very far behind. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. I don't have the opportunity to bounce it right here and now. But I don't think I get to sit back and wait. Yep, that's devastating. Yeah, the good news is I have a Brightling. The bad news is basically everything else about this match right now. Oh yeah, this deck list is beyond greedy, so of course there is one. Awesome. Awesome. Let's just throw one of my valuable lands into this Strix and hope the Strix actually trades for it. Thank God. Now the Brightling can maybe do something. Unfortunately, now I have to stop porting my opponent because this Brightling is the only way that I can win this match. So I have to protect it. Alright. Now I need my opponent to, like, fetch, so this unexpectedly absent can do something. God, Lily, last hope too. Sure, this is fine. It's not fine. Alright, I'm not beating this. We're done. I'm done with this deck list. So let's debrief. This deck's garbage. On every level. So the mana base is too greedy. Like, even though you've decreased the number of white cards in the deck, like, this deck needs mana to function, and, like, these Ghost Quarters and these Factories are leaving you with very few real white sources, and there's actually very few planes in this deck. So if you look at this, there are 5 basic planes in this deck. Compare this to what I was playing recently. There are 14 basic planes in this deck. So what that means for us is that opposing Wastelands and other mana denial effects are surprisingly good at taking us off of our colored mana. Additionally, I think this sideboard is garbage because you don't have clean in-out numbers for matchups that I think make sense. Like, we were playing against some of the most popular decks in the format, and it wasn't clear that we really had good cards for a lot of those matchups, and that's not really a good place to be. I had no endgame inevitability like I normally do with Death and Taxes with the Stoneforge Mystic package and equipment and Recruiter of the Guards. Ghost Quarter rarely, like in our matchup against the Eldrazi Post deck, it did something, but otherwise it was kind of mediocre. And if I'm on this super intensive mana denial plan, and I need to cast all of these 3-drops, how on earth is that acceptable with 23 lands? I also don't think Brightling makes any sense in this deck list, given how few white sources there are. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12 white sources in this deck. That is less than half of the lands produce white. Additionally, 3 Caracas doesn't really seem safe in this deck. And multiple times I used a Caracas as a Lotus Petal, and that didn't feel good. So again, the reason why I played this league was to show off an alternative D&T strategy that was being played that I thought was terrible. And I have indeed kind of confirmed my thoughts. This deck can't really deal with opposing stuff well. I can't grind through Planeswalkers. I can't really answer anything that's going on with something like a Baleful Strix. This just seems like very poor deck building. Womp womp. It is what it is. Alright, so let's be done with this. Mike, did you still want to jam a couple of games? I've got till like 10 my time, so I've got like 40 minutes if you want to jam a couple. Alright, so now we're just going to play a couple of exhibition matches versus Mike. Sounds good, Mike. So Mike has some brew that he wanted to test. I don't know what we're playing against. But he says he keeps just running into crap leagues, and he just wants to play against some real decks and competent pilots and see how it goes. Alright, the vial resolved. Everything else is fine. Hitting that land drop would have been really good, but I'm not really too worried about missing it. Alright. I don't really know what my opponent is doing at this time. My gut says combo. But that's unclear. Not combo. Control. It's a lot of basics. This Mirror Crusader is probably going to be sweet. So Mike is playing currently, so he doesn't have the chat up. But from what I've gathered from talking to him is that he thought the deck was good, but he was having some success in leagues. But he was playing against a bunch of random stuff, so he wasn't getting quote unquote real results against tiered decks. All right, so we're looking at some sort of bug value deck. Not playing this. I think I'm just going to pass, put my Crusader in, and see where that gets us. Expect to see a chump block from a Snapcaster Mage here. And I don't think I want to play out this Revoker blindly without more information. I could just blindly put it on Jace, but that might just be throwing it into something like a Toxic Deluge, which I don't want to do. So Detox, I do not know what my opponent is playing. Mike, Overvoltage, has informed me that it's a bit of a brew. So keeping that in mind, I don't know what I am to expect on the other side of the table. Like this right here very well could just be an epic Deluge setup. So I have plenty of bodies. I'm not worried about that. So I don't really need the Batter Skull. I think I'd rather have this to, like, pick off these Baleful Strix in case something goes wrong and this Crusader somehow gets answered. The only way I really see this game going much longer is if my opponent goes Jace, bounce the Mirren Crusader. There we go. Now I just need to draw a land. Did not draw a land. So I can revoke the Jace. And then puts... yeah. And Mike recognizes that. He says, no land one time. So note that that fetch does make Flicker Wisp plus Sword of Fire and Ice just lethal. Alright, so it looks like we're playing against some sort of bug control deck. So I'll probably want Gideon, Council's Judgment, Recruiter, probably Rest in Peace. Ballista's probably even good. So I don't really like Sanctum Prelate when my opponent is going to have a large number of different converted mana cost kill spells. Yeah, so, like, my opponent has to have a reason to be in green, right? So I'm going to assume there's more graveyard-based synergy than just the Snapcaster mages, even though I didn't necessarily see them. There's got to be something else there, and a lot of the green payoff cards are graveyard related. So things like, you know, Life from the Loam or Tarmogoyf, for example, are big graveyard-based payoff cards. So whenever my opponent plays a bug deck, it's usually safe to board and Rest in Peace. It'll probably get its value over the course of a long game. A lot of times against bug decks, I'll trim a 1 toughness creature or two just kind of in anticipation of some sort of, like, Dread of Night, Marsh Casualty type thing. Because I still kind of want access to all of this stuff. But if I'm going to bring in all of these, I need to make some cuts somewhere. If this vial works, this hand is very strong. If this vial doesn't work, the game is likely to go long enough that I can draw out of this. I have 23 hits for a land in 2 draws. That's pretty good. Never didn't have it. Getting the Thalia is a bit of an aggressive play. Interesting that he didn't loot there. So I'm just doing this while my opponent is tapped out, and I can 100% extract some value out of my Flicker Wisp. Probably just getting a Mirran Crusader. We got that card. This is just going to be like a push on a recruiter, so I can't keep chaining. That's fine. Let's go always no here. So I think I actually just want to ping the Strix here and attack in rather than revoke the Jace. I'm just going to play Mom here. I have Flicker Wisp up as one layer of protection. Mom would be a second layer of protection, and I would just feel very, very good about that as a whole. Let's shut off that looter. If we need to, I can just reset it to something else with my other Flicker Wisp. Unearthed. That makes sense. I wanted to play with an Unearthed deck for quite some time. I think that card is well positioned. That's fine. How about we draw a land for this Gideon? We got it. No problem, McLovin. Spirit of the Labyrinth is certainly playable right now. It's not a card that I've loved entirely. Mike in the chat types, these decays are supposed to be assassin trophies. Figured it wouldn't be relevant here, but Gideon. Unearth Snapcaster Mage. Unearth Jace. That's pretty sweet. Oh, I'm gonna draw step. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I will be leaving for Baltimore tomorrow afternoon, so there will be no Saturday stream this weekend. I'll make that up to you next week at some point. So, again, I want to thank my sponsors, Cardboard Live and Card Hoarder, for letting me borrow the cards that let me stream, as well as having that sweet extension on the side of the screen there that goes and tells everyone what's in my deck. So thank you very much to those of you who donated or followed today. I really do appreciate that. It's helping my stream grow and is helping me like bring you the best legacy content that I can. So next week on Monday you'll be seeing D&T. On Thursday you'll be seeing a sort of like White Prison Armageddon stacks sort of deck, and then who knows what Saturday will hold. So thank you very much, everyone. Good night. And if you enjoy my content, please consider following, subscribing, doing a donation deck list, something to support my work. And make sure you turn into the Legacy Premier League next week as well. All right. Good night.